What's up, folks? Can we get a thumbs up in the chat? Anything to let us know that you guys can hear us loud and clear. I'm keeping an eye on the chat just to make sure we got somebody that can let us know on their end that you guys can hear us. Cody, I see your link. Yeah, I'm gonna put it. Yeah, sorry. Let me turn off the music. I like a little warm up. Okay, so Jason G says I can hear. Steven says everything is gravy, baby. Well, it's about to get a lot more gravy, you guys. Welcome back, ballers, on another episode of Are You Seeing What I'm Seeing with Rambo and our guest star of the night, Decoding with Cody. We're going to jump right into it. We do our best to really try to keep things as close within an hour as possible. Sometimes it does go over. But without further ado, I'm going to get my slides up here. I have a visual to share just for anybody, which I think is doubtful, that isn't familiar with Cody. We're going to kick things off with you, kind sir, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself and where people can find your work.
Yeah, thanks again so much, AJ, for having me on here. And this is something I've been looking forward to for a few weeks now. And of course, I had to push it back a bit because I had a trip. But very much grateful for you having me on here. And as AJ has there, that's my channel, Decoding with Cody. And you guys can find me on YouTube mainly. That's where I'm at. I have an Instagram, which I need to start working on more. But you can also find me on Instagram at the same name. But mainly you can find me on YouTube. And again, I do numerology, decodes, gematria, date measurements. If you guys aren't familiar with me, that's what I do. I just enjoy breaking down this matrix, and really happy to be here once again. So thanks, AJ, for everything.
Absolutely, Cody. It's an absolute pleasure. I certainly hope this won't be the last time that we can do something like this, because along the way, man, I've learned a ton from you, and it's gotten my work a lot better, and you still continue to blow me away. So one other thing about Cody, I know you put it in the private chat, but I'm going to copy and paste this and put it into the public chat. For anybody who wants to support Cody's work, you guys can go to buymeacoffee.com/decoding with Cody. I also am going to share it in the ticker here below. So moving on, we got the Godfather Rambo. Good to see you as always, my friend. Lots in the news I look forward to picking your brain on. But yeah, please, for the audience, if you can let people know where people can find you.
Godfather, thanks. Make me sound old, but no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've got my Patreon. It's The Truth Codes at patreon.com/The Truth Codes. Sorry, that's what it is. That's where I am mostly. I do have Instagram as well. The Truth Codes is on Instagram. Mostly what I do on Instagram is promote what I have. I'll get little excerpts from my videos that I put out on Patreon. Those are the two places I am. And we have this agreement here, AJ, where I've been showing up live with you on every Tuesday at this time. So you can see at this time, I guess, every week so far.
Yeah, exactly.
For an hour, usually. It might go over sometimes. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And most people are familiar with my work. If they're not, well, I'm pretty much, that's what I'm doing. I actually take a philosophical approach. I'm actually asking the philosophical questions of what is this place and who are we? What is this place? Who are we? Why are we here? And I go as deep as I can. And to answer those questions, if they're even answerable, you have to go beyond, I guess, the surface news, and you go into what I call the mystery traditions: astrology, numerology, tarot, allegory. Allegory is part of astrology, symbolism. And I like the saying, they say a picture can express 1,000 words, a symbol can express 1,000 pictures. So symbolism is at the core. And yes, the various mystery traditions, religion, mythology, those all hold clues to whatever this is, this existence that we are experiencing is. And I'd say that's the premise of what my work is about.
And the bridge, right, could be one of the latest symbol examples.
Bridge symbolism. Yes, bridge symbolism is extremely powerful. And you just had the death of a pope, and a pope is a pontiff. And why is a pope? And a pontiff means bridge builder. And the popes always say, we want to build bridges, because a pope is said to be, by the Catholic Church, a bridge between the material plane and heaven. That's why the bridge symbolism is so central to Catholicism, as it is in multiple areas.
I can't wait to dive into that, because I know Cody's got a lot of work with that he's done recently. And Rambo, you as well. I do have to catch up with your latest video. But without further ado, you guys, I'm going to jump in for just a couple minutes here to kick things off. I just wanted to share a couple things. For those of you guys that have been following my channel, it's been open for about a month now, maybe 6 to 8 weeks at this point. But I've been on a big love theme. Make sure to go back and watch these videos. But what blows my mind, talk about symbolism, Rambo, is when we talk about the Preakness. For those of you guys that don't know, it's one of the bigger horse races of the year. Journalism, I think, came second in the Kentucky Derby, but then X amount of days or weeks later, Journalism ended up winning this race, and it was crazy how he won. I mean, he was far behind. He got hit by another horse, and all of a sudden, shotgunned his way to victory. But just look at the symbol on his chest. It's a big apple, isn't it?
Yep.
So he's got a big apple on his chest. I did a quick search on, I just typed in New York City, the Big Apple. And the first thing that pops up, it explains that this nickname originated in horse racing. So I thought that was interesting, especially just in line of, you think about what's going on with Michael Bridges with the New York Knicks and how New York is known as the Big Apple. Well, take a look at the apple, right? It's the shape of a heart. And when we talk about symbolism and colors, that's a big part of it. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with the NBA, you have the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference Finals currently going on. But if this happens, it would be interesting to see if the Knicks face the Thunder for these reasons that I'm talking about. Notice that they have the same colors. And notice that they also have the same colors as Florida, who won the college basketball championship. So that could be a little predictive programming there. But it just escaped me about the Thunder. They are sponsored by Loves. They have 5 hearts just on their chest. So for me, it would be really interesting to see the Heart team play against the Big Apple in line with that symbolism there. This is just referring back to the stuff I was talking about with Love, going back to the Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar. And this is shout out to you, Rambo, for really telling me that game was nothing about the team on the field. It was all about that halftime show, right? And part of the song, Not Like Us, he calls out Certified Lover Boy. That's a alias for Drake, only to find out that Drake has a song called From Florida with Love. That blew my mind. And Kendrick Lamar, he has a song called Love. So, we're going all the way back to February when the Super Bowl happened. But the main thing, right? Cooper DeJean had that pick 6 during the Super Bowl, playing for Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Now we have that crazy news about Dallas getting Cooper Flag. Technically, I mean, the draft hasn't happened yet, right? But I think it would blow everybody's mind if the Mavericks did not draft him. But Cooper Flag, Cooper DeJean, and Dallas is home of Dallas Love Field. That's another shout out to you, Rambo. I had never thought about that until you mentioned it. Now we're segueing back to the Knicks really quick. They're known as the Nova Knicks because there's 3 players, arguably their three biggest players that play for the Knicks that all went to Nova. Just a tennis ball throw away from Philadelphia, once again. But notice that Josh Hart of the Knicks, he wears number 3. And I've talked about that too in relation to Allen Iverson, who played for Philadelphia, and how love is the answer kind of theme. But it just hit me one night about why 3? Well, back in the day of texting before emojis, if you wanted to text somebody a heart, right, you would text the, the greater than sign, and the number 3, right? It's like the top of the heart. And Josh, right, is short for Joshua. And as we know, Yeshua can be a translation of Joshua. So Joshua, the heart. Jesus obviously has a lot of symbolism with the heart. And in closing, I just wanted to shout out my dear friend Ricky. She's been on this love theme with me for quite a while. And sure enough, yesterday, she sent me this. I noticed the date actually was May 16th, but maybe it was a rerun. But now you have a deadly heartland and tornado outbreak going on. And she did highlight there that Kentucky was spelled incorrectly, which I don't know exactly what that was about. But in closing, Rambo, you'll get a kick out of this. Now we're going back to the Hangman theme. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a show called The White Lotus, but my wife and I, for probably a week or so, the seasons are short, but we blew through the three seasons, and the final episode to date, they're going to come out with another season. The final episode is this character here, Lockie, I think his name is Lachlan. He gets poisoned, and here he is laying, just like the Hanged Man, same leg, same cross, and everything. And I just wanted to point out in closing, of course it's season 3, episode 8, right? We know all about 38 and how it's associated with death, murder, killing, things like that. So I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who wants to watch the show, but that symbolism blew my mind. The last episode, as they're zooming out on him, I was like, are you kidding me? Here's just yet another Hangman example. So that's my time, you guys. I just wanted to kick things off with just some latest things that I've been seeing, and appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick. I saw Florida on the jacket of Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl halftime show. I always saw Florida, and a lot of decoders did a lot of decodes based on Florida being a big part of the halftime show. Turns out it doesn't say Florida. It actually says Gloria.
Yeah.
But in a way, that doesn't really matter, because it actually, the way people interpreted it is actually what matters more than what it actually says. It actually says Gloria, which is a very Catholic word. The term Gloria in excelsis. There's another phrase, I don't know, it ends with ad gloriam or something. But Gloria is a very Catholic word.
I believe it's ad Miriam de Gloria.
Yeah. But that's actually what that jacket says, to just to clarify. But it looks like Florida to everybody.
Yep. No, absolutely. What were your thoughts on that Hangman piece?
What is his name? Lachlan?
Yeah, Lachlan. No D at the end. Lochlan.
Right. So
yeah.
That is a reference to Loki. So Loki is a Norse trickster god. And so in the Norse tradition, they say the Norse version of Mercury, which of these things are always debatable. They don't necessarily translate perfectly. The Norse version of the Roman Mercury is said to be Odin, which in England, it was called, in Old England, it was Woden. That's why you get Woden's Day, that's Mercury Day. In Roman, Wednesday is Mercuri, with 2 I's at the end. In Spanish, it's miércoles. In French, it's mercredi. Wednesday is Mercury Day. And so Woden, who's Odin, it's Woden's Day, which is Wednesday. So Odin is associated with Mercury, but Loki is a trickster god, not in the Roman tradition, and as well as the Greek tradition, which is where Hermes is the same archetype. So Mercury has has a good and bad side. Everything has a positive and a negative side to it. So what the way they do it in the Norse tradition is they separate Loki and Odin. So what Mercury actually is Loki and Odin put together in one deity. I hope I didn't confuse it. So Loki is a trickster god. That's why Mercury is a trickster god also on one side. But Mercury also has a positive side, the good shepherd, the divine messenger, but also the trickster.
You said it was Mercury is a merger between Loki and what was the other one?
Loki and Odin.
And Odin, that's right.
Right. And Odin, like it's Odin, Woden, Wednesday, which is Mercury Day, Mercury, Miraculous. Odin is Mercury. So Odin and Loki are separated in the Norse tradition, but in the Roman tradition and the Greek, which is Hermes, it's one deity with different sides to it. And
is it kind of like a yin and a yang, like a good and
yeah,
bad? Or...
absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, even the planet Mercury, not the god Mercury, the planet Mercury is androgynous. So you'll see Mercury being quoted into the like the transgender theme, but so the Hanged Man is I've illustrated several times is the upside down cross, which is St. Peter's cross, which is a Catholic's theme, because St. Peter said it was crucified upside down, but it also translates to the tropical zodiac, where it's the cross between the mutable signs, that being Pisces and Virgo, which are directly opposite each other, intersected by Sagittarius and Gemini. And that cross is called the mutable cross. That's the upside down cross. That's St. Peter's cross. So two of those signs, Gemini and Virgo, are ruled by the planet Mercury. Those are the two signs that are ruled by the planet Mercury, are part of the upside down cross, the mutable cross. Mercury is the trickster god on one side, who is Loki in the Norse tradition. So although Loki and Odin are two separate gods, they're both Mercury. They have the same properties as Mercury. So when you see the Hanged Man, like they do it in the Joker, the reason the Joker in the Dark Knight is he's hanged upside down by Batman by the ankle, because that's Loki, and that's Mercury. But Batman is also Mercury. That's the yin yang. So that's why his name is Lachlan. It's a reference to Loki.
That's incredible. Wow. And what's weird is, and I don't want to give too much away. You guys can already see from the title, Lachlan. Spoiler: he doesn't actually die, but it's his father Tim who poisons him. But don't forget, you guys, earlier this year, I mean, Rambo has been all over the Hangman theme, especially with the upside down plane crash back on Michael Jordan's birthday, while Drake from Toronto was in The Land Down Under, etc. But yeah, no, I just want to point out, for some reason they had him laying there right next to the pool, like next to water. I don't know if, I'm sure there's more to it with that.
Yes, there is. I can add to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's by a pool, as you mentioned, and it said that he was poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
The planet that's associated with poison is Neptune. The Hangman card represents the planet Neptune. That's why there's the poison. So this is how deep these archetypes are. Tarot cards look really simple, and you can extract. There's so much you can extract, like an endless amount you can extract from that simple image. That's why I said a picture expresses 1,000 words. One image expresses 1,000 pictures. For sure. Neptune, which is the Hangman represents the planet Neptune, is associated with poison. And Neptune is also the god of waters. It's the god of fresh waters, rivers, and the sea. It's a sea god. That's what the pool is. And then Neptune rules Pisces. Pisces is part of the mutable cross. That's why he's by a pool. That's why he was poisoned.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. This is great. This is why I love picking Rambo's brains, but obviously everyone's brains. Cody, you got anything to add with this? Because I'll be the first to admit, when it comes to astrology and the zodiacs and whatnot, I am a kindergartner when it comes to that. So, but you are way more up to speed with this kind of stuff, and not sure if there was anything else you wanted to add, at least on this topic.
Well, I mean, I did kind of catch on to the water thing like you did it immediately, and I thought of Neptune as well. I didn't know that Neptune. Well, I did know that Neptune was associated with the Hangman, but I kind of, kind of went over me because I was looking into the actual actor of this, the guy who was looking into this character, because I don't know anything about the show or even who the actor is. But I will say that Rambo, I think, nailed it on the head with that. And I'll look more into this character myself because I think that's quite interesting. I did notice that his last name is Ratliff. And I did pick up on a rat theme with the death of Pope Francis, because Pope Francis is born in the year of the rat. And the last person that he saw was a person born in the year of the rat, which is J.D. Vance. So both those guys were rats. And this show airing just after all this going down, and we're talking about a poison theme, people did think that Pope Francis was, I mean, no one actually came out and really said it, but I mean, everyone was kind of like, the last person that he saw was J.D. Vance, and there was kind of this theme of a bit of a poisoning thing, or you know what I mean? Like there was this kind of thought that, oh well, I wonder what happened with, you saw a lot of posts on social media saying, did J.D. Vance do something to Pope Francis or whatever? But of course, Pope Francis was already old anyway. But it's just interesting that there's a poison theme here and a rat theme as well. So
yeah, but obviously since I've seen it, I could add more to it, but for the sake of time and not spoiling it, it's called The White Lotus, and it's a very interesting show, to say the least. It's a bit creepy.
Can I point out one other thing, since Cody mentioned the Pope connection? So the colors of the Vatican flag are yellow and white. And you can put up an image if you want, but that's what he's wearing. So he's wearing like a really pale pastel yellow, but yellow and white are the colors of the Vatican flag.
The Vatican. Let's pull it up. Okay, yeah, there we go. And notice the white, right? Is that what you brought up? Because it's called the White Lotus, which I believe is a flower. White Lotus.
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism. This is one area of symbolism I really need to learn more. Flower symbolism is extremely important and extremely powerful. Yeah, see, as a yellow and white. So since Cody brought up the Vatican and the Pope, it is interesting. And again, who does the Vatican and Catholicism venerate? Saint Peter. Saint Peter was crucified upside down. The upside down symbol, Saint Peter is the hangman. So the yellow and white is another part of it. So yeah, it is a reference to the Vatican.
And don't you put flowers on a casket?
Yeah, flowers are it's a very powerful symbol. I need to learn more about the flower symbolism. Like even in tarot, there's a lot of flowers in tarot cards, and they all mean something. So I think the lotus. So I think the lotus is kind of a resurrection symbol. I think because what lotuses do is they close at night, and then when the sun comes up, they open. So they're a symbolism. They're a symbol of So they're a symbol of the cycle.
Mm.
So they are. The lotus actually mirrors, or at least corresponds with the sun, I'd say, because when the sun comes up, which is the resurrection of the sun, that part of the cycle, the lotus opens. Then the sun goes down, which is the death of the sun, and the lotus closes. And that's what the lotus is associated. It's a cycle symbol and a resurrection symbol, a death and resurrection. And remember what I said about anytime you see cycle symbolism, ultimately what cycle are they talking about? The reincarnation cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because lotuses are big also in ancient Egypt. Like the pillars, ancient Egyptian temples, at the top of each pillar was a lotus. They'd carve out a lotus shape at the top of the pillars, because that's how powerful the lotus symbol was in ancient Egypt. Because it's a resurrection symbol, it's opening and closing in correspondence with the sun.
And I feel that that's why, like I hinted at with this kid Lachlan, right? The title says he dies from poisoning, but spoiler, he doesn't actually die. But so it's almost kind of like he was about to, but then he like comes back to life, right? So there's that kind of theme with what you were just saying.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he didn't actually die and then get like, you know.
yeah.
But anyways,
Just
what?
just a little bit
Yeah.
on this actor real fast. Can I share my screen just real fast?
Absolutely, Cody. Please do.
Let's see here. I'll just share it and then hopefully it will.
I just need to see the requests come through.
Let's see.
I'll just take a quick second, you guys. Thank you guys for being here. We got 47 folks in the chat. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. You guys can follow Rambo's work once again on Patreon / The Truth Codes, also on Instagram. His info is in the description below of this video. And also, Cody, I will add your buy me a coffee link as well into the description after we wrap up. So I got your request here. We can see your screen code.
Okay, cool. Just to show the gematria end of this, you notice that his name he plays in the show it equals his full name, the actor's real full names in 2 ciphers.
Wow.
So that's interesting. And I noticed that his nickname was Alaki.
Yes.
Which again goes back to the Loki thing.
Yeah.
But also reminds me of the Loch Ness monster. So there's probably something there. Also, notice his birthday. Rambo will know a bit about this. His birthday is 26/9, which is the 57th prime, and
it's also the 269th day of the year. That's my wife's birthday. That's what I thought was so cool about that day.
Right. This day is a very special day on the calendar because not only is it the date 269, but it's also the 269 day of the year. This is double 57 symbolism because, again, this is the 57th prime number. And so this day I've always looked at as a very special day because of that it's connected to the 57, right? Breaking it down to the 57. Well, that is interesting because he's by a pool and we're talking about the number 57. And as Rambo has showed before, and as I've also talked about, 57 is a huge number connected to birth. Birth equals 57, birth ritual 57. So he's by the pool, you know, it reminds me of some sort of birth symbolism, and the Loch Ness monster coming out of the you know, being born or coming out of the water, right? So also, he's born in lunation 999 at the first day of lunation 999. So you notice how when I click one day to his birth, it changes to the 999.
So well, Cody, I got a question. So because this is so new to me. Oh, whoa, camera. Oh. So what you're saying is like he was born on the first day of the new lunar cycle.
He was born on a new moon, essentially, which okay. So they started counting the new moons in 1923, right? And that means that he was born on the 999th new moon since the beginning of the count. So that's as simple as it gets. Okay. So, but that's important because remember, I've shown many times how important the lunations are. If you know the number of their lunation, it often factors in to the narratives. And the reason I think this 999 is so interesting is because that's the upside down 666. Now, look how many days after 9/11 this guy was born. 2 years, 16 days, which is 6 times 6 times 6. And 222, if you measure it in years, months, and days, or years, weeks, and days, it's got that 222 in there. But what I'm seeing here mostly is I find that interesting. The 216 years before 9/11 or after 9/11, and he's born on the first day of lunation 999. So there's a lot there. I mean, this is just my basic thought of just looking into him for 5 minutes, but there's something there for sure with that.
Yeah, Cody, if you just turn on the show with your girl, just start with season 1, man. I'm telling you, you'll find a ton of stuff, a ton. Yeah.
I might have to definitely look into that for sure.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome contribution. You know, speaking of 999 and 666, don't forget that New York equals 666, right? In Sumerian, Going back to the 9/11 themes, and obviously just this past week, what did we have? We had that big Brooklyn Bridge collision with that Mexican Navy ship. I don't think it's funny. I mean, it did blow my mind that there were so many people on the masts, right, as it hit. You know, I don't feel like that's kind of a normal thing. You know, for people to just be hanging out on the masts, especially when it's getting that close. I mean, if I was on the mast and I'm even within 100 yards of it, I'd be like, I'm getting down. But so I thought that would be a good transition, because I did touch on earlier a little bit about Michael Bridges, right, playing for New York. He's from Philadelphia. That's why I went to Nova. But Rambo, Cody, you and I both just talked about this. Latest in the news, you guys. And Cody had some contributions he pulled up within 30 seconds after I shared it. Let me just get the headline here. For those of you guys that aren't aware, I saw a tweet pop up. You know, outside of the NBA playoffs, this is the latest in the news about another NBA player who plays for Charlotte. Makes me think of the Charlotte Hornets who drafted Kobe Bryant. You know, we're in the year of the snake. But apparently he did an Instagram post addressing his bad guy accusations on Instagram. I don't really know enough about it other than that apparently he was physical with his baby mama a couple years ago. The charges were dropped, and then he was suspended right after that happened. But yeah, Cody, you were telling me offline just some really interesting gematria just about Miles Bridges, not to be confused with Michael Bridges in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to maybe share your screen add on to that, or Rambo, if there's anything else you would like to add, please jump in.
No, Cody had great additions. I think Cody should go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think the screen is still there. Am I still sharing my screen? Okay, cool. So just real quick, this Miles Bridges guy, what I found super interesting first is that earlier this year, there was an article released on March 20th, so one day before his birthday, about Bridges that needs to be assessed, right? And this came after they were doing this assessment because of what happened with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And so that article was released literally, you know, within hours of his birthday this year, this Bridges guy. He's almost 6'8" too. Look, he's 2.01 meters. That's interesting. He's got the 201 there. He's almost 6'8". And in that article, they said, you know, that they wanted to assess 68 bridges. And that article came out 68 days before the Golden Gate Bridge 88th birthday. That article about assessing 68 bridges. Well, what I found interesting is if you type in this guy's name, let me see if I can just find this here. He equals San Francisco in 3 out of 4 ciphers, and he equals Pope Francis. You see that 122 there, right? Miles Bridges equals 122, San Francisco equals 122, Pope Francis equals 122. And
don't forget that San Francisco is located on the 22nd meridian.
Yep, exactly. And if you type in San Francisco Bay Area, it also equals 122. So this is a huge number with San Francisco. So I don't find it a coincidence that this article this year about the 68 bridges was put out one day before this guy's birthday. And the first bridge on that list was the Golden Gate Bridge. And he equals San Francisco, where the Golden Gate Bridge is. And he has a 3-cipher match to it. And of course the Pope Francis thing, right? Well, if you go from this guy's birth, March 21st, 1998, to this, well, today, when this article is releasing, it would be precisely 326 months old. If you add the date, I mean, so today, technically, he would be 326 months old. Exactly. And we know what happened on 326 with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So that is interesting. And don't forget, the Golden Gate Bridge is turning 88 years old in 8 days. So you got the 888 thing there.
We're going to have to
keep an eye on that. That's what I saw.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. You know, but back to the 122 really quick, Cody. I don't know if you want to just pull up the your Gematinator, but if you type in the word satanic, it equals 122.
Yep.
You know what else equals 122? You have Satanism. Mm-hmm. Satanism equals 122. It's with one N. You know what? Satanism.
Yeah, the Satanism has the 120, which I've talked about, but yeah,
I want to say it's in the Capitals Added cipher, which is Francis Bacon, I believe. Yeah, right. There you go. So there's your 122, and then also Satanists plural equals 122. And don't forget, San Francisco is home of the Church of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
So
actually, that's where the Church of Satan originated.
Oh, right. You were telling me Peter Gilmore, right? He's the new head of the church, and isn't it in New York now or something? New York.
It's right up the road from where I am right now.
And New York equals 666, so that's perfect.
Yeah. So it originated in New York. Its headquarters and moved to New York for some reason.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely part of this. You know, like with what I showed there with the 122s, and you know the satanic thing, you can never forget about that, because that's a big number with the Church of Satan as well. That I've done. I think many people in the community have talked about this 122 with the Church of Satan and Pope Francis connections and all that. But that's a great addition for that, for sure.
Yeah, and really quick, I just wanted to shout out DJ Rivers. Made a great comment. You know, Miles Bridges wears number 0, and that goes back to a lot of the love themes that I've been on, because 0. This is shout out to you, Rambo. Right? We were talking about that upside down banner with that player from Illinois. Right? How you flip 0 either way, it's the same. But in the world, it's tennis. 0 means love. Right? So
now the Church of Satan. They claim that they don't actually believe in Satan. They don't believe a figure named Satan actually exists. That's what they say.
Sure.
So the 666 is the molecule for carbon 12. So carbon 12, it's the most abundant element in matter, in physical matter. Of course, matter is the opposite of spirit. That's actually what Satanism is. It's actually the rejection of spirit. And they just wholly embrace the world of matter, which is a world of illusion. Ever since the Matrix came out, the material world was compared to a computer simulation of a more substantive, higher dimensional base reality. And that's why 666 comes up with computers. Like in the Sumerian cipher, computer 666. Internet is 666 in Sumerian. The first Apple computer, we're just talking about an Apple, right? The first Apple computer cost $666, not by coincidence. Even in the barcodes, the barcodes that have the vertical lines, and they have a variety of, I forgot to say, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons makes up carbon 12. That's why 666 has to do with the world of matter. It's also a number you see in the computing world. Isn't that interesting? It kind of goes hand in hand with this theory that the world of matter is actually a computer simulation, because when you look at them, they both have 666. And so I can understand why they say, no, there's no Satan that they actually believe. But what they do, they reject spirit. And they believe that matter is the be-all, end-all. And that's why, interestingly, on the 100 and I have to just comment on what they just said here. So the headquarters were moved to Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. Yes, the Church of Satan moved to Manhattan. To Hell's Kitchen is actually a part of Manhattan, the lower Manhattan. But they actually moved out of there. They actually moved further upstate. They moved like 3 counties north, Dutchess County, which is right up the road from where I am. And have I interacted with them? Yes, unfortunately. But anyway,
can you tell us that story?
No, I'm just part of what I go through. I mean, okay, I've told people how I'm part of a gang stalking and energy weapon program. I mean, a targeted individual, which I never thought I would be. I thought I was going to study these things, but that's how you learn. You learn by being part of it. You don't like learn from. Yeah, you can learn something from others, but if you really want to know, which is the energy that I put out to the universe, I want to know. Yeah, I didn't know this would be part of the lesson, but sometimes it's the only way you learn. I didn't plan it. But I'm right next door to them, and it's part of the targeting. Yes, they are part of it, but they are part of just the overall broader, just for lack of a term, for the whole umbrella, I'll just say Illuminati. They are part of the Illuminati umbrella. But yes, I have been directly targeted. Right now, okay, so right now for this broadcast, and actually under this beanie, I actually have a silver. That's $100 bandana. If you can imagine spending $100 on a bandana, I had to because it contains silver. Because that's the only way I could really stand. I have to wrap my head with a variety of metals as well, not just silver. But anyway, not to go on about that, but I'm saying, have I interacted with them? Yes, but they are part of the broader Illuminati network, and it's broken down into various secret societies. And just someone can be part of one secret society doesn't mean they're part. I don't know how the whole network. There's one umbrella, and for lack of a better term, I'll call it Illuminati. The Church of Satan is part of it. And just look at the symbols they use, which I've done several decodes on, and they've put it in my face. Especially, they look at my decodes. If I do a decode, it's not really that funny. It's a psychological terror network. But if I do a decode on something, when I go out, they'll put it on my face. So it's 24/7 gang stalking energy weapons, which I've mentioned it, but I have to mention it because, well, it's the truth and it's part of my reality, and it's part of what the whole premise of my channel and what I do is to analyze the world as it is and go to the below the surface. This is not something that's on the surface. Politicians run away from it. You cannot get a politician to address it. The use of energy weapons on innocent, just innocent everyday Americans. That's who's targeted by it. Politicians will not touch it. They will scatter. And who has that technology? It came from DARPA. But I don't have to get off the topic. But since you asked me to expand on it, I did. So yes, do I interact with them? Yes. And but it's not just them. It's like the broader network, which if you want to call it Illuminati, which, again, this is what I wanted to know. I wanted to know how the world is. Well, you don't just learn. And this is the mystery schools teach that. When you go to the guru doesn't explain everything to you. They'll tell you some things, and other people tell you some things, and you can go to a book or a script and learn some things. Ultimately, if you really want to know, you're going to have to live it and find the answers yourself, which I didn't know that, which I know now.
Well, and like you said about the laughing thing, I was saying it on another stream not too long ago, that, yeah, this is occult knowledge, meaning hidden. You mentioned the Illuminati, which means illuminated in the light, right?
Yeah.
Without light, there is no darkness, and without darkness, there is no light. So for me, I feel like you have, if you're going to lean into the darkness, into the hidden, you have to find the light in it, right? I'm just going to shout out everybody that's following us, supporting us, watching this live, and we're all leaning into it. And there are times where it's just unbelievable. I can't tell you how many times I've just seen an alignment, kind of like with Cody pointing out Miles Bridges and how he's perfectly connected with San Francisco. I laugh at that. It's just like, my God, you guys, you gotta, it's not always doom and gloom, even though there is a lot to be concerned about these days, just with the, predictive programming that's going on.
Yeah. So on the 122, what else do you find on the 122nd meridian west? You find the heart of the computing world. You have Silicon Valley. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Church of Satan and the computer world chose that same location. It is not a coincidence. And what does the Church of Satan they say they don't believe in Satan, they don't worship a Satan. Yes, but they do invoke lower dimensional beings from a dimension lower than here, and they do invoke them. And yes, there are information out there. They say there's a fine line between magic and science. It has been done in not just the United States, Europe, they have CERN, but in the United States, some people have said that lower dimensional beings, that's less than 3 dimensions, actually have been brought out of 2 dimensions into 3rd dimensions in a lab, and there are people who've seen it happen. There's a flash, They pop out of thin air, and this being is running around the lab. That being was brought from the lower dimension. It's not from Earth. It's not an extraterrestrial. It's from a lower dimension, and people have actually seen it happen. And I haven't heard of any CERN whistleblowers or anything, but that's what along the lines of one of the things that people have said is being done at CERN. Like they're actually bringing up beings from lower dimensions. So yeah, so is there not a Satan per se? They do not believe in a Satan. That's true. What they do embrace is this dimension, 666, the world of matter.
The physical plane as opposed to the spiritual.
Yeah, and the spiritual plane is multidimensional. But and so they like the lower dimensions pretty much, not necessarily a Satan who they'll bow down to. Yes. So yes, that's true. They'll say we don't worship Satan, but at the same time, that doesn't make them. So one of their beliefs is that in this plane, that's the thing. So if there's no higher dimension, so in the higher dimensions you have a moral code. It's not subjective. It's an objective moral code. That code itself is God. And I shout out to Mark Passio for this. Mark Passio is a former member of the Church of Satan, and some people don't like him for it, but he gives you some knowledge that you can't get from the outside. And he tells you what the Church of Satan's about. So I do shout out Mark Passio. He's helped me a lot. And what I've learned about secret societies and a lot of the symbolism, I've learned a lot from Mark Passio. I have to shout him out, even though people have issues with it. I have to shout him out.
Well, and Satan, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Satan, right? A common phrase about Satan is he is the grand deceiver. Well, what is he deceiving you from, right? Maybe it's trying to keep you in that physical as opposed to the spiritual.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what the deception is, and we can't help it. Our memories are erased. What else are we supposed to think when we are born here? You look around, you see what you're, if you're gifted with sight, you can't take that for granted. Some people don't have that. But if you have sight, you look around and all you know is what you can see. You can't see the invisible world. So what else are you supposed to think exists? You think you were born and now you exist. You existed before, but your memory was erased. That's what all the cycle symbolism about. So what I'm going to say about the Church of Satan is, yes, they don't believe in a Satan. But the most insidious belief that they have is that there's no objective moral code, like a code of God. So do no harm being the primary principle. It's not a principle because God said don't do harm. Like don't do harm because God said it. No. The principle of do no harm is God itself. Nobody made it. It's just a fact. It's infinite and it can't be changed. Do no harm. Now, if you do harm, it doesn't say like be a shrinking violet and let yourself be a victim. No, you can harm someone if it's to defend yourself or somebody else. There's a context in which you can harm, but you're doing so to defend another person, to protect another life, your own or someone else's. In that context, yes, you do harm, but because it's wrong, because something's about to be harmed. That core principle is God. And so when they talk about Lucifer wanting to be better than God, see, that's the essence of the Church of Satan. So Lucifer is above God. He's saying like, wait a minute, I can make my own rules. So if do no harm is the central, it exists. It doesn't exist because somebody said it just exists. You should not do harm, period. It just exists whether you like it or not. And you can go ahead and do harm, but whether you don't see the consequences now, there will be consequences, and you'll eventually learn. Do no harm. And
sorry, Rambo, go ahead. I was just curious. I would love to get Cody's 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much. Sorry to take too much time because we're on the Church of Satan thing.
No, you're fine. I mean, there's always so much to talk about with all of that. But yeah. Cody,
so, sorry to take up so much time, but
no, you're fine.
So in general, that's what. So when you're above God, which is what those Church of Satan basically says that they are above God, and this principle does not apply. They're saying this whole godly principle, do no harm, no. They say it's subjective. You decide what's right and wrong. Call it moral subjectivity, where no, each individual can decide what's right and wrong. There is no objective God truth. There isn't. It's up to the individual to decide what they feel is right and wrong. That's their core principle. And I'm saying, so it's It's no coincidence that the Church of Satan and the computer industry, with all the computers, computer 666, internet 666, the first Apple computer $666. There's a whole bunch of other 666s. And this number is associated with Satan, and it's the number of matter: 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Isn't it interesting? They came together on the 122nd meridian. They're in the same place, not by coincidence. So just to talk about that meridian, since that's what came up.
Yeah, no, that's great additions, and obviously, this is a sensitive subject for a lot of people. That this could really trigger people or whatever. But really appreciate that context, Rambo. Cody, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was really enjoying listening to Rambo give that, because it's really true. Like the 666 really is also very connected to the matter, right? Like the carbon being stuck in this matter world where everything is supposedly made out of matter, right? And scientists are working every day to find this matter, right? They're also, like trying to break it down more and more every day with their science, right? And that's the thing, is I think that when you're too focused on the actual visible world, the matter, supposedly, you just lose sight of like what you're supposed to be really focusing on. And that's the spiritual aspect of your life. And I think that, the Satanists proliferating this into the world, or just in general, these people that run the world, they want to keep people in that state of matter, because it's funny, because scientists will always be looking for smaller particles of matter. They're always going to be studying matter and this world and far as matter wise, and I think it's kind of symbolic, because when you're stuck in the world of matter as a human being, you're never going to find the end of it. You're always going to go in circles looking for that matter, when really the answer is to turn around and look for that spiritual aspect, Jesus, if you want to call it, or like that spiritual aspect of life. Is you have to turn around and look at it instead of focusing your attention on the outside. But what I've learned, from my own life, and I'm not perfect, I have a lot of things I need to work on in my life, but the reality is that, once you kind of realize that the matter is not the answer, the outside world is not the end all be all, and you turn around and you analyze your own relationship with, God, with spirituality, you will be able to work better inside the realm of matter. So that, I don't know if that makes sense. You have to do the inward path first. And then when you do that inward path, you take that back out into the world. And that's where you're able to be a light to the world, or to basically show others, or to hopefully show others, that there's something deeper here than just that initial, what seems to be, right? Because from a child, we're easily pulled into this outside world of matter, materialism. We're easily into it. That's what we're raised to do, essentially, especially in this day and age. Materialism, matter, everyone does that like a robot. They just live in that. That's what they do. They don't even think twice about it. So I think that the first step is to think twice about what you're doing, and then analyze what you're doing, and then go inward and bring that, what you learn, to the outside world and help others find that as well. So that's just kind of my take on it. And these people that, Satanists, whatever you want to call them, they want to keep people as robots, just not even questioning what they're actually doing. They just wanted to keep them consuming, consumerism. That's what I think is one of the worst things with humanity, consumerism. Just so much stuff in the world, so many objects to buy and to have. It just keeps you so locked in the material that you just can't, and I think that's what we do here, is we look more spiritually, we look more conceptually at our lives, rather than being so, because I'm not a materialist. That's one thing that I reject. I mean, I have only things that I really need, and on top, after that, I don't want to have any more, because those things really don't bring happiness to your life at the end of the day. So that's just kind of my thoughts, quick thoughts on that.
That was very beautifully said, Cody. Seriously. Yeah, preaching to the choir, at least to Rambo. I know Rambo is very minimalistic as far as what he needs, because you dedicate your time here to knowing.
Yeah, I best. Yeah, that's a polite way of saying I don't have any money. But yeah,
No, oh, come
no,
on.
you're right. No, you're right. Though I don't. But you know what happened? So there's a term I learned. It's actually a Rosicrucian term, which I just found out a couple days ago because one of my patrons direct me to. I'm always trying to learn, and that's what is that term? It's corrective shock. So what corrective shock is when your soul, our memories are erased. So part of the task of incarnating on this earth is to discover the self, but it's like a game. This is serious. You can call it a game, but this is so serious. Pain is real, and this to call it a game almost sounds like it's trivializing it, but that's actually is what the soul is supposed to do is discover itself, but its memory is erased. That's why there's so much cycle symbolism. Once you leave here, like you see everything clearly, but then your memory is erased once you come here, and you think this is the be all end all, and more often than not, you don't discover your true self until you die. Like, oh yeah, okay, that's who I am again. Okay, I'll go back again. You just keep coming back, making mistakes. That's the cycle. We're talking about the cycle, the Ferris wheel. How the first Ferris wheel was in Chicago, Illinois, at the World's Fair. So that's what the cycle. What you're supposed to be doing is discovering that the eternal part of yourself, that soul. That part is eternal, and that part is pure love. Once you get out of 3D or even 4D, because you do things like astral projection and remote viewing, you're not in 5D. That's still 4D. Once you reach 5D, it's pure love. Ego cannot exist in 5D and higher. Ego gets erased. Ego is just a phenomenon of the lower dimensions, which is third dimension and lower, with these beings. So decided it's a good idea to bring beings up second dimension. I don't know why anyone thinks that's a good idea. It is being done. And that's where the rest where demons come from. Demons come from lower than 3D. And for whatever reason, they're brought. You can't go to a higher dimension from a lower dimension. The reason they're here is because people invoke them either through magic or through science, which is pretty much the same thing.
Rambo, you said something really intriguing to me. You said 5D is pure love.
Yeah, a 5 dimension, yes.
What did you mean by that? And I just asked because of the whole love themes that I've been on all year, and it's not stopping.
Because when you're in a spiritual form, when you go to the spiritual plane, that is a plane of pure unconditional love. It's just pure love. One of the things that people is erased from your memory when you're born into this 3-dimensional plane, which is the realm of ego. That's another thing about 666. And again, shout out to Mark Passio, talking about 666. This is the realm of ego. That's what the 3D is. The ego is the physical self that you see. When you look in the mirror, that's what you see, and you think that's you. Well, that's your ego and your identity. It's all ego based. That's not the real self. There's a tarot deck. It's called the Tildewick, a very rare deck, Tildewick deck, which you can't find. They don't print anymore. Their devil card is a mirror, and it's taken me a long time. I think I first saw that deck maybe in 2014 or something, or 2015 or 16, and it took me only until like last year to figure out what that card means. The devil card is a mirror. Because what are you looking at in a mirror? You're looking at matter. You're not looking at yourself. Now, yourself is perceiving, but that what you see in the mirror, it's the devil in the sense that it's 666. It's matter, and it's not the real you. Your task is to discover. That's why know thyself is the central spiritual maxim of every spiritual tradition since the beginning of time. Is know thyself. What does that mean? Is to discover that eternal self. What you see, the physical 3D illusion, that is not you. That is the ego. And that's what the Church of Satan promotes, the physical. So they're right. They don't believe in Satan. Yeah, but that doesn't make them innocent. I mean, they have some fancy philosophies which sound really high-minded, but at the end of the day, it's the opposite of know thyself. And it's a difficult task. How do you discover that with your memory erase? Yeah, it is. It's almost sounds impossible. Talk about mission impossible, but yes, that's how hard the task is. But there is a being which has awareness, which is inside a temporary 666 physical vessel. To identify that vessel and this environment is a mistake, to say the least. That's why know thyself was in the Matrix movie for that reason, because this is a Matrix. So when Neo is with the Oracle, she has know thyself. It's written in Latin, Kemet Nosce, in above the door. Every temple in ancient Egypt had know thyself above the entrance, and it's up to each individual. What does that mean? What does know thyself mean? And who is thyself? Yeah, that's the task. And that's why ancient Egypt, we're talking about the lotus. They have two pillars with a lotus on top of each pillar. And what is the lotus? It's the flower that opens at night. It's reincarnation. That's your birth. Closes, opens in the daytime at the dawn, at birth, closes at the dusk. That's part of the cycle. It opens and it closes. It opens and it closes. That's part of the cycle, which is the reincarnation cycle, which is why they had the lotus at the door of the temple. And know thyself. And
Rambo, incredible. As the host, if you will, I do want to be mindful that we are just cracking past that 1 hour mark, right? We do have 3 heads in the chat, in this conversation today. If you guys are okay with it, I'm down to go another 15, 20 minutes, if you will. I know that Cody was requesting to share his screen about Love and 54.
Since we have another person here, we have Cody today. It's fine. I can go over.
Great. And if you guys are okay with it, I can open up the phone line as well. We have over 75 people watching right now. So we'd love an opportunity, at least for a call or two, to come in, to ask a question, pick any of our brains, or add any contributions to what we've been talking about. But yeah, Cody, do your thing. I know you pulled up Love and 54. What's that about?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to that, with Rambo talking about the 5D, I just noticed that love literally equals 5D. 5, 4, is the
wow.
fourth. I mean, D is the 4th letter. So,
oh wow,
that is amazing. Yeah, that is
wow.
amazing.
Whoa. I wouldn't have seen that in a million years without you.
I wouldn't have either, man. This is why he's Cody's got his reputation. I mean, that is amazing.
But not only that, just look at that.
Front and back.
It's one of those words that has that, double gematria. So, I mean, how much more perfect do you get than that? It's perfect with the 5D thing. So,
and in the simplest cipher, right? Like in the simplest English cipher, front and back.
Yeah, and if you run it forward or backwards, you get the same thing. So, that was crazy. When I realized that, when he said that, I was like, wait, doesn't love literally equal that? So, that's why we're here. Love, right? This is why we're here. God is love. And it reminds me of that verse from the Bible where it talks about, I think it's Corinthians 13, and the greatest of these, it lists all these different things, right? This is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It says you can do all these things, but if you don't have love, then it's basically nothing, right? It doesn't, love is the essence of what our true self is about. It is only love. There is no hate in love, right? If you have a bit of hate, you don't have fully love, right? So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, if you have light, you can't have darkness in light. It's either light or it's dark, right? So that's why I think love is so important. And we throw this word around in our society so easily, but true love is so hard to reflect. So especially as we're all going through our journey of this world, it's so hard to. We all have our challenges, but if the closer we can get to that pure love, the better we can be example of that. So I think it's
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Cody.
It's just an important topic, you know. And I think that's AJ. I think that's why you see love symbolism in everything because it has to be there, you know. It's so important. So that's just what I thought when Rambo was talking, and so yeah, that's something that I'll definitely look more into with the 5D and the love thing. That's crazy, really.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it just reminds me of Rambo. Did we talk about this, the love and the flame last week, or the moth and the flame?
Yeah,
and,
you
and
told
that,
me. Yeah, you
well,
told me.
and that was
about
because of you, Cody. That was because of you, Cody. You sent me that video about this dance back and forth with the moth. Just can't stay away from the flame, and then when it gets a little too close, it backs off. But when it merges with the flame, that's like it's dying in love. Like that's the true love. That's where it happens.
Yeah, and you know, the video I sent you, I mean, of course I was thinking of you because you've been on a love theme, and I've watched, you know, Rupert Spirit for years now. But you know, he often talks about love, but you know, in the sense of the consciousness, love, God, he kind of uses different terms for different things, but I just thought that video was fitting for what you've been talking about, and also the whole thing with the flame, right? It's pure, right? A flame is just pure fire. It's pure, it's incineration, right? And I think it's funny because when we think about the Bible, especially, we think of fire and hell as being like a bad thing, but there's two sides to every story sometimes. I think obviously when you're burned up in love, true love, Jesus love, or whatever you want to give it, that could be considered hell, right? To some people. I mean, think about it. Like, if you are still in your ego, or like Rambo called it, you don't want to get so close to that fire because you realize it's going to burn you away, right? There's not going to be any more. It's going to be only the light of the pure flame, right? So because you're going to be gone, your ego, you're going to, you know, if you go into that flame fully, you're going to be annihilated, right? There's not going to be. So it's kind of paradoxical because you find that you want to still exist, but you can't fully exist until you embrace the true love, which is not in your ego. So you have to be burned. Your ego has to be burned away, right? And so maybe this is the symbolism also of always talking about how Satan is thrown into fire, right? And because Satan needs to be burned away, right? The adversary of love. Satan just means adversary, right? So that needs to be his whole concept. I mean, think about the whole concept of Satan. He thought he was separate from God. Because if you think you're better than God, you means you think you're separate from God, right? So you're trying to set yourself apart from God. And God is pure love. So if you're trying to set yourself apart from pure love, what are you doing? You're literally being Satan. You're being an adversary to love. So
yeah,
the
shout
ego,
out to Casey. He said crucible of love.
yeah. So that's just my take. I don't want to we don't have enough time to go even deeper, but I think that's kind of just a summary of that video and kind of what I was thinking with it. So
yeah, I think that was a great kind of closing, I guess, of today's conversation. You know, we talked about the Big Apple, how it connects to the shape of the heart, same color, same shape. You know, now we got the Big Apple on the doorstep of maybe going to the finals, playing against OKC with love stamped on their jersey. You know, I'm not saying that that's an official pick for anybody who's interested in, you know, that kind of stuff, but it's getting closer. But I would say, without further ado, if you guys are okay with this, maybe for the next 10 minutes, we can open up the phone line for anybody who would want to, you know, chime in with a comment, a question, an addition, whatever that is. You guys okay with that? Before we wrap things up, give the audience a chance to chime in if they're interested.
Can I say something real quick about the Apple thing real quick?
Absolutely, of course.
New York is the Big Apple. The small apple is Mini Apple, which is Minneapolis.
Oh.
So if the Timberwolves win, it's the Mini Apple against the Big Apple.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's
That's why the Mini Apple is playing against Loves right now.
Now
Sorry.
remember the WNBA final that we just had. I did predict that one 7 months ahead based on the New York hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, which has 2,024 rooms, which has a Statue of Liberty. So I thought, based on that, 2024 Statue of Liberty. I think the Liberty will win in 2000. That turned out, but it was the Minnesota Lynx against the New York Liberty. It was the Mini Apple against the Big Apple. Might you see the same thing in the NBA? Just something to put out there.
Once again, that's right in front of my face. I never even thought about that.
I'd like to give a shout out to the Big Apple, Mini Apple, to Hickok. I mean, he was a popular member of the community. Hickok, he's from Minneapolis. He moved but he's from Minneapolis, and he's the one who told me that. Hickok. Some people may remember Hickok or know of Hickok. Yeah, I got that from him. If he happens to be watching, or people who remember him, that's where I got the Big Apple, Mini Apple. He's from Minneapolis.
That is, oh my God. That's the kind of stuff, honestly, that like I find the most fascinating. Like when you Big Apple versus the Mini Apple. Wow, that's in play too. Holy smokes. Cody, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that was mind blowing too. I was like, wow, that makes complete sense, and the twin stuff is there too for that. If that ends up being the matchup, I remember 9/11 happened in a snake year, and we're in a snake year again, and that was all about the Twin Towers. And now, this year being another snake year, it wouldn't surprise me if you have the Twin Cities versus the Big Apple. Considering
home of the former Twin Towers, right?
Yeah, and I think this goes a lot back to the Gemini thing, also the Trump being a Gemini and also being from New York. And, with the wolves, I just can't get myself away from the wolves and the Roman theme because of what happened with the Pope on Rome's birthday and how that's all connects back to Romulus and Remus. And I actually had a lot to talk about with Sirius today, but we'll probably have to save that for the next stream. But the Sirius thing connecting with the wolf too, because in some cultures I noticed that they call Sirius the wolf. So I think there's really something there also with that, and then also, with the dog and the wolf theme and yeah, that's just kind of what I was seeing with that. But there's way more to talk about, but we'll have to get into that on another stream or later on.
Yeah, Cody, for sure. We could do this again, and we can theme it. We can make the whole theme about Sirius, because I know you've been dying to really talk to Rambo more about that, because Rambo has plenty of his own that he's added with that.
Yeah, also like this time of year now is the time when Sirius disappears from sight, because Earth moves into a position around the sun where you can no longer see it, because Sirius doesn't move. I mean, everything moves, technically. Everything moves, but it's for the most part, even the sun moves technically, but Sirius and the sun are fixed, and Earth moves to a position where Sirius is obscured by the sun. And this is known as the heliacal setting of Sirius. And technically it's not exactly 70 days, but this is the day that's used ceremonially. And in ancient Egypt, they used the number 70 for the embalming period when they were mummifying bodies. The mummification process took 70 days. That was homage to Sirius. From the heliacal setting of Sirius, when you can't see Sirius, is obscured behind the sun, until Earth moves to the point where you can see Sirius again, which is the heliacal rising of Sirius. That period of obscuration is 70 days. And I've done a ton of decals on how you'll see the number 70 keep popping up in the context of the star Sirius. Well, this is the time of year, the last week of May, when Sirius disappears from view. It's the heliacal setting of Sirius. So yeah, don't be surprised to see some. They have been in the past, and there will be some Sirius, if we can notice them, Sirius related rituals.
Yeah, so Cody, you just got to let me know the next Tuesday that you're available, and we will get that set up so we can really focus on that whole theme for sure, because I'm very, very interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I can make myself available on any Tuesday, really. I mean, it's a bit, the stream is a bit early here in the morning, but I mean, it doesn't bother me. I can get up early. Sometimes it's good to get up early. So, I mean, yeah. So whenever you guys are down with it, I mean, I'm able to come on anytime. Also, I'd like to have a round table again and hopefully have both you guys on, and maybe get some other people involved too. I don't know when that will be, but definitely something. And me and AJ, we talked about doing maybe a stream every week on my channel, or we'll just I like to do more collaborations anyway. So we'll have to talk more. Me and AJ will have to talk offline on the phone and kind of figure out what we want to do with that. But yeah, I just look forward to collaborating in any way I can at this point. So if you guys let me know when you're available, or what Tuesday you want me, have me on again, then I can make myself available, most likely, unless something comes up. But if I can plan, like I said, I apologize for the last 2 Tuesdays, because when I originally set this up for you, I had forgotten about it, and I had set up a trip with me and my girlfriend to Spain, and totally forgot about the stream. But I won't do that again. So apologize.
It's all good, Cody. Things come up all the time. So you keep doing your thing. I know Rambo will too, as will I. I'm just gonna kind of wrap it up here and say, we'll keep this thing going for at least another 5 minutes, 5 or 10, depending on if you guys want to take advantage of this phone line. We have it open right now. If anybody wants to add a contribution to what we talked about, ask a question, the line is here for you guys. We love to hear from you guys. We love seeing everything in the chat. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Please make sure to follow Cody and Rambo on their own platforms. Once again, Cody, I will add your Buy Me a Coffee link to the description after this live. But I strongly encourage you guys, please take advantage of the phone line below this video as we speak. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. In the interim, is there anything else that you guys have been eyeing or seeing kind of on the horizon? Just with what's latest in the news, sports, current events?
I can mention just something about this Bridges player, which goes along the lines of what we've been talking about.
Are we talking about Mikal Bridges with the Knicks or Miles Bridges?
Oh, yeah, Miles Bridges.
Okay, Miles Bridges.
Yeah, so I just noticed his birthday. It's his birthday is the spring, the vernal equinox. That goes in, the lotus opens when the sun comes back up. That's birth. That's Aries is the ultimate birth sign. That the glyph for the sign of Aries, it looks like a Y. It's actually supposed to be ram's horns, but not by coincidence, it looks like fallopian tubes, because Aries is the ultimate birth sign. Aries is the first sign of the zodiacal cycle. It doesn't just start the season, spring. Aries starts the entire zodiacal cycle. It's the ultimate birth sign. I think Cody mentioned some birth symbolism. And he's born at the vernal equinox. That's the birth of the sun. And he wears 0. Doesn't he wear 0? If I saw correctly?
Yeah, we touched on that very briefly. I think it was DJ in the comments mentioned that in relation to love and tennis.
Oh, yeah. And 0 is the cycle symbol. I said this over and over again. It is all about the cycle. So he's a cycle symbol. He's born at the beginning of a new cycle, and he wears the number of a cycle symbol. So I'm wondering if he's a bad guy. That's kind of like a reincarnation type thing. I guess I don't know how they're going to play it out with him.
Hey, Rambo, I don't want to interject, but somebody in the chat asked, is the phone line only for USA or is it for international as well? From my understanding, it does take international calls. So Dialectic Truth, wherever you're at, give us a ring. We're here, or at least give it a shot. And if you have an issue with it, I can always look into making it an international capable line. But from my understanding, it is acceptable for international calls. So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out that Miles Bridges has that cycle symbol, and his birthday that's a major date, March 21st. That's huge. So yeah, so he has heavy cycle symbolism.
It almost makes me think of, in line with the cycle, March 21st, right? 3, 2, 1. It's like a countdown almost.
Oh yeah, that's
Right. I don't know exactly where I'd be going with that, but it does kind of, in my opinion, relate to that cycle.
No, yeah, I think that's a brilliant observation. So one of the places where do you see like a circle, a cycle, and then a 3, 2, 1 countdown? That's usually when you're filming something. Like maybe not now, but in like older days, sometimes before a filming starts, you'll see a cycle counting down from 10, 9, 8, and then you a cycle, and then once it goes down to 0, you have action, and then the filming starts, whatever it is, the production, the movie. And that's actually what the material plane is. It's the realm of action. And also Aries, which is at the time, March 21st, he's in Aries. That's the time of the resurrected sun. That's the ram. Aries is ruled by Mars. And one of the symbols of Mars, the symbolic meanings of Mars, is action. The glyph for the planet Mars is the same glyph for the male gender. It's a circle with an arrow on it. That stands for male, but it also represents action. It also represents Mars. So what do you have when you have a countdown? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. And so you're absolutely correct. And action is Mars. It's the same glyph as the male. In fact, if you know Aries, I found is the easiest zodiac sign to recognize that someone's an Aries, because believe me, if you know an Aries, they're all about action. And that comes from Mars, their ruling planet. So I think the 3, 2, 1 countdown. And also Mars, what do you think of Mars? Mars is also associated with war. Not positive and negative. Mars isn't just war. It's about action too. Nothing happens without action. Love alone is actually pointless without action. You have to act on the love, So let's not, and that's a sacred masculine. So love is the sacred feminine, but you still need the sacred masculine. So suppose somebody's injured or somebody needs help. You can feel sorry for them out of human compassion, but that alone doesn't do anything for that person. If you follow it up with action, action could be just calling an ambulance or calling 911, but it's an action. Love needs action as well in order to manifest in the world. The whole manifestation process is action, and that's the sacred masculine. That's what Mars represents. And so it was appropriate when you said 3, 2, 1, which I didn't even think about it. The countdown 3, 2, 1. What comes after 3, 2, 1? Action.
And Mikhail or Miles Bridges wears 0, so 3, 2, 1. 0.
Oh, 0. Okay, there you go again.
And then think about the book of Acts in the Bible, right? That's where they do all their acts of love for Jesus, right? So it's I thought about that too. It's like it goes perfect with what Rambo was just saying. But this Miles Bridges guy, I'm going to look more into him because he's definitely coded for sure.
So we got a caller. I think we'll just end it here with the caller as we wrap up. So hold on a second. Hello, caller. I see your name, but to protect your identity, how are you, sir? Thank you for calling.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm on the way to work right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Where are you located?
I'm in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Beautiful. What's the reason for your call, sir?
I just wanted to throw out my interpretation of the bridge collision of the Brooklyn Bridge.
By the way, this is Casey Jones, isn't it? Yeah, it's Casey Jones.
Yeah, I recognize him.
Casey?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Casey, let's hear it, my friend. What do you got for us?
Well, we're real familiar with Golden Gate Bridge symbolism. And in astrology, the Golden Gate is the galactic center, or Sagittarius A. And that's it's roughly at a location where the ecliptic intersects with the Milky Way galaxy. And that's about the ecliptic longitude for that is 267 degrees. Of course, we have the 267th Pope right now. And so if you go opposite of that, it brings you to 87 degrees of the ecliptic, which is right above the constellation Orion. And So that would be the Silver Gate, right there where Orion, Gemini, and Taurus, right where they intersect. That's the Silver Gate, and you can overlay Orion onto Manhattan, and the way you do that is you just line up the Orion's belt with the One World Trade Center and the Twin Towers. And what you'll notice is that the club or the sword of Orion, it seems to line up pretty well with the Brooklyn Bridge. And right now, if you look at Solarium or a map of the sky, you'll see that Jupiter is right there in that area of the sky. And the name of that ship translates to descending eagle, and the eagle is a symbol of Jupiter. So that's what I'm thinking, is that that ship collision is just a representation of what's going on right now in that area of the sky.
Yeah, Rambo, you've been talking about a little bit about that as well. We have, at least, about the Silver Gate and whatnot. I'll be honest, a lot of this is so over my head. Like I said earlier, I'm a kindergartner when it comes to astrology and what you were saying. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? Cody, Rambo?
I mean, check out his video on that. I was going to bring this up, but I did see Casey Jones' video. He has a channel, and he posted a video showing this, overlaying the Orion on top of the New York. And yeah, it's I think he's like usual. I think he's dead on. So
yeah, could you give out the name of his channel?
Yeah, I think he's just going by Casey Jones Astrology now. Is he still on the line, or?
Yeah. Casey, you're still here, right?
Yeah, still here.
Yeah. So get Casey. Casey, I got to double check and see if I'm following you yet. Would you mind, just for the viewers and for Rambo and Cody, to just clarify where we can find your work on this?
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube. It's Casey Jones Astrology with the Roman numeral 2 at the end.
Okay.
And my icon is actually a picture of the Virgin Mary right now. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Casey, really appreciate the call. I think this is the first time I've had a chance to hear your voice. I've been familiar with your work. I haven't seen a ton of it, but after your addition, man, I'm definitely going to be paying more attention for sure.
So you usually, I was saying about the Silver Gate and the Golden Gate in general. The Silver Gate is the metaphorical portal from the spirit plane into the material plane. If this is the matrix, this is the portal into the matrix, is the Silver Gate. The Golden Gate on the opposite side is the metaphorical portal from the material plane into the spirit plane. So that's the difference with Silver Gate and Golden Gate. So if you have a ritual at the Silver Gate, then I'm guessing it's some kind of manifestation ritual, and we can just guess what it is. So he said the name of the ship translates to Descending Eagle. And it's interesting, there's a big Mexican flag on the ship, a big one. And the Mexican flag actually in the middle has an eagle with a snake in its beak. That's actually the symbol of Mexico. It does have an eagle on it. So that's part of the symbolism too, that flag. You've been talking about flags, Cooper flag. This is all about flags. Stars, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, Star Spangled Banner is a flag. Who wrote that? Francis Scott Key. And the bridge, it's all about flags. Flags are big here.
Philadelphia, home of the flag. Cooper DeJean with that pick 6 during the Super Bowl. Now we had Cooper flag, and then Donald Trump born on Flag Day, right? It's everywhere.
Yeah, and this is the flag again. So this time it's the Mexican flag, but it has the eagle on it. Again, yeah, this is kind of deep. So the eagle and the snake, there's some deep symbolism there.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, this we go on forever on symbolism. That actually goes back to ancient Sumerian mythology. What the snake means. The snake is Enki. The eagle is Enlil. But that's just gonna. I mean, we can just go go on another tangent.
Yeah, Casey, you were about to say something. We do have to wrap this up. We're right at about an hour and a half. What do you got?
Well, yeah. Basically, I was just going to say that the moon in alchemy has that element silver associated with it, and I think that was one of the big parts of 9/11. Is if you watch what the moon is doing on 9/11, it is making a passage through the silver gate. And the next time, and that's that happens roughly, once a month. The moon has a orbital period of 27.3 days, and the next time that happens is going to be May 28th. And you can write that date 28/5, which is the current address of the One World Trade Center, that 285. But yeah, so.
Thank you.
And that would be the 88th birthday. That would be right after the 88th birthday of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So that's interesting.
Oh man, Trump 88 talked about the Golden Age, the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh my goodness. Casey, thank you for your additions. I'm going to make a note right now about the moon cycle being 27.3 days, which I think goes back to why is our calendar the way it is? It makes no sense.
Right.
But thanks again, Casey, so much. We really appreciate it. I would love to connect with you further. Maybe we can get you to jump on, to one of our roundtables with Cody or our weekly show with Rambo. Tremendous additions. Really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks for letting me on. I'll hop off now.
All right, brother. We'll catch you again sometime soon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks again. All right, guys. So we'll wrap it up there. We're just past the hour and 30-minute mark. This is rare, but obviously we have a third head in our conversation today. Cody, thank you so much for joining. I really look forward to doing more of this. I mean, the fact that we were able to just have a conversation and add just even the simplest little things that just blew my mind. This is what I live for, to be honest. But I'll just close out by just thanking everybody in the chat. Casey for calling in. Really appreciate the contributions, the questions. Thank you, Stephen. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the show. Claudia, thank you as well. You guys will see me again next week with Rambo, but I'm working on a couple other videos as well to come up soon. And shocker, it'll be about love. But Cody, I know it's early. Maybe you're starting your day. I'm about to wrap mine up. But thank you again, Rambo, as always. Thank you, Cody, so much. I will pass it off to you both to close out. And please just remind any viewers who aren't familiar with your work where they can find you guys. So we'll start with you, Cody.
Yeah, and again, thanks for having me on here. I'm really excited always to collaborate with you two. And this is also what I live for, to do more collaborations and to just have more ideas being passed around. And it was a blast, and an hour and a half goes by really fast, right? So, but yeah, you guys can find me as usual on YouTube. A lot of you guys know me, but you can find me on YouTube at Decoding with Cody, and I have a Buy Me a Coffee.
Spelled with a K, by the way. Spelled with a K, just so you guys know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, spelled with a K. Decoding is spelled with a K, and my name is spelled with a K. So, thank you so much, and thank you, Rambo, for being on here and allowing yourself every week to hear from you again. And I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much. Look forward to more. So
Thanks again, Cody. Yeah. So Rambo, take us home. Yeah. Thanks, AJ, for putting this together. And my audience loves Cody. They had been asking, could you do something with Cody? Could you do something with Cody? And now we've done, in a couple of months, I'm sure my audience is pleased. This is what they wanted. They'd been baying for Cody. And I finally did something with him. And this is why. The whole thing with the love, and I talk about 5D, and it's at 54. I've been seeing that forever, and it never clicked. For things like that. See, that's why you collaborate. Nobody can notice everything. So this was great. Another thing is that YouTube unsubscribed me from both your channels yesterday. So it's another thing. A lot of content creators will always remind their subscribers, if you could check and make sure you're still subscribed. I was unsubscribed from both Decoding with Cody and BalllDontLie yesterday. So YouTube does that with me. I think they unsubscribed me from like 10 channels yesterday. So keep an eye on that. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I look forward to future collaborations. And one thing, AJ, if you know Tommy Truthful, I think he contacted you, but he wanted me to shout you out and tell him he wants to maybe do something. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, no, I did get a message from him. Literally, it was 15 minutes before the live, so I haven't even had a chance to take a look at his message. But absolutely, Tommy Truthful has been, he puts out great work. He's been a big supporter of us both for quite a while. I would love to have him on as well. So I'm really excited about that. And just so you know, I already reached out to the Occult Rejects. Nick wants you on. All we got to do is find a date and a time. So we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep building bridges. All right. We're going to keep building bridges in this community. And I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you guys all for the support. Thank you, Rambo. Thank you, Cody. I can't wait for the next one. Love always. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you guys are from.
All right. You sound like Truman Burbank there.
I know. I had to pull that one out. So make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and we look forward to seeing you guys again really soon. Have a great night or a great morning, everybody.
Right.
Take care, folks.